Hey guys, on today's episode, what to do about clients that go behind your back and use someone else, my thoughts on Periscope, and how to keep people from going FSBO when selling their house.
I spend the majority of my time trying to figure out how to help other people get what they're really after. I do this by speaking at events, writing books, working with coaching students, and sharing a lot of content. All of this creates a ton of questions from people that I can't always get back to, but now I can. This is the place to come where you ask your questions and I'll answer them.
All right, guys, welcome to episode 4 of #JJoffthecuff, okay, where you ask your questions, I answer them. This has really been a really cool experience for me, just seeing the questions that have come in. It's crazy, even locally, I've been going around everywhere, and everybody's like, oh, I saw JJ off the cuff, which is really cool. We've even had people, sending in questions or sending in requests for me to speak at events, and they're writing things like, we love JJ off the cuff. So super cool stuff, guys. What I try to do on this is be a little bit more informal, as you can see, getting ready to go to the gym, and really just get to the bottom of the questions that you actually have and not overthink them. Like, I'm going to tell you exactly what I think. Hopefully I'm not going to hurt your feelings, but I'm going to be as honest as I possibly can. So with that being said, let's get into the first question.
The question is from Shane Anderson, and he says, hello, here's a question for JJ off the cuff. Would you or have you followed up with a customer that you may have showed a few properties to, and then found out they bought with someone else? I'm just trying to find out if there was something I did that made them find someone else, or if there was something I could have done differently to keep them. Have you done that before? And if so, what did you say? Thanks.
Male or female?
It's mail from Shane Anderson.
All right, perfect.
Awesome students.
All right, cool. All right, Shane, that is a great question, and there's many different ways I could go with this. I don't believe that you should be following up with these people over and over and over again if they're not responding. I don't think there's anything wrong with sending something out and just kind of softly asking them, hey, just out of curiosity, so that I can get better at my job, what was the reason you moved on, and see if they give you a real answer. So often you're not going to get the real answer. They're going to kind of, deal with you with kid gloves and say nice things and whatever. But the main thing, I always try to get to the bottom of what the question really is. And here's the main thing. One of my major things is you don't ever want to be self-deceived, right? I have something I say every morning. I don't want to be self-deceived. Don't allow me to deceive others. That's a big thing for me, is just self-awareness. Someone like me many times could actually get you can get the title of being overconfident or arrogant or that kind of a thing, and I'm not. What I am is I'm really, really aware of what I'm really good at, and I'm really, really aware of what I really suck at, okay? So I know what I suck at, I know what I'm good at. From your perspective, I would want to know, is it happening over and over again? Is it just a one-time thing? Because there's some people you're never going to please, right? I say to people in my office all the time when people leave our coaching or people leave our marketing or our lead creation for them or whatever it may be, don't worry about it. There's plenty of people. It's a numbers game. It's going to happen. So I'd want to know, has it happened over and over again? Is it a pattern? I'm wondering, just the fact that you're asking the question, it seems like it affected you a little bit. Maybe it's happening more than once, and that's something where that self-awareness comes in. Because I'm going to tell you, when I was selling real estate, if I'm just being 100% honest with you, I didn't have a lot of people leave me because I felt like I gave them a certain amount of value. I gave them a certain comfort level in the third most stressful time in their life, right? Death, divorce, and moving, third most stressful time in their life. So if it's a one-time thing, don't worry too much about it, man. Taylor Swift that baby, just shake it off and move on to somebody else. But if it's happening over and over again, yes, you can try for feedback, but I'm going to be very blunt with you. They're probably not going to give you true feedback if there's something that's happening over and over again. That's where that self-awareness comes in. You need to see how you're rubbing people. How are your relationships overall with people, your friendships, how do people react to you when you walk into a room? When I walk into a room, I generally find that people gravitate towards me. Like, people want to be in a conversation. They're generally entertained in that conversation. If you find that you're the person that walks into a room and on a regular basis you're having to add yourself to the conversation, as somebody who's in a business that requires people to want to be around you for sales and everything else, you've got some self-observation to do to figure out what has to change in your personality. And here's the deal too. You don't have to completely change your personality to become good at sales. I believe that different people have different areas of them that they just have to tap into, right? Like Rachel, I've got very outgoing, upbeat personality, and then I've got just leave me alone. Like, I just want to be alone and I don't have any kind of interest in this, and I've got those two parts of me are very real. They're not fake. But what I know how to do is I know how to tap into them, okay? And so my natural inclination, believe it or not, is that of an introvert. where I just want to be by myself. I just want to lay in like a lightly, not a lot of lighted area where I just kind of watch TV or relax or just don't interact with anybody, don't anything. But I know when I go into certain situations that Jared can't come out. Like, it's got to be the more interactive, the more, okay? So, with that being said, self-awareness, whether it's happened once or many times, is really going to determine what your answer is. Okay? One time, shake it off. Many times, self-awareness, what's going on, and what part of you do you need to tap into, because everybody has those different parts in their personality. Great question, though.
Our next question is from @Julia Wagner, and she says, you're a supporter of Instagram and many times have stressed the importance of video. How do you feel about Periscope?
All right, now that is, I don't want to say after every question that's a great question, but that is a great question. I am a supporter of Instagram. I'm very, I've really just gotten active on it in the last month or so. You can, get active on there with me @JaredJamesToday. I think that it's such a storytelling place. I like what they're doing with their ads too, as far as multiple ads, which now Facebook's taken on too. Well, you would think Facebook owned them. But Periscope, right? I mean, for those of you that don't know, Periscope, Meerkat, these different places, these are live streaming apps that are live streaming to places like Twitter on their own app. I was very big on Meerkat. I'm very, very, very big on Periscope right now. I mean, my God, Rich, I mean, how big am I on Periscope? How many days have I walked in here consecutively going, we need to get this down, we need to figure this out, we need to, because Periscope is something that is going to become the Truman Show of our world, right? It's the ultimate behind the scenes. We were just doing a Periscope 10 minutes ago and had to stop for a second because our mic wasn't working. We're like, we gotta get this figured out, otherwise we can't do anything, right? I mean, that's the real deal that you would never see. That's the unedited version that's being shot right here as we do this, which is pretty cool. Periscope, I think, opens you up in a way and creates such context with that live streaming capability, the behind the scenes, the unedited capability that creates such context with people, which ultimately bonds you as a client or as their agent or whatever it may be for life, that I don't think many things are able to capture, okay? When you look at something like, people are now going to have the ability with me to do this before I do a #JJoffthecuff, to see me with the bloopers, me screwing up before I shoot some video that all they've ever seen is the edited version that looks so polished and looks so whatever it may be. You as an agent being able to walk through with someone as you're doing it, walking through the house and they're seeing the neighborhood as you're actually there, is kind of a cool thing. I believe that this is where things are going right now, and I am I think it's going to be huge. Not a little bit, I think it's going to be huge. So, very big on Periscope. Make sure you're on there. Twitter actually bought Periscope, so it's actually going to be native to the Twitter app, which right there tells you how important that's going to be. So, make sure you get on there, check it out. I'm @JaredJamesToday, as I am with just about everything other than YouTube. So, pretty cool stuff. Great question. You need to be active on there, no doubt.
Our next question is from @MLeeRealtor, and she says, I need help showing my value to Gen Y so they don't FSBO. I'm a broker with 11 years under my belt.
Okay. So she wants to know about FSBOs, like how does she, Gen Y. Okay, pretty cool. What was her name, Meredith Lee. All right, Meredith, I don't think, I get the Gen Y connection that you're making there, because you're thinking that Gen Y can do things on their own and they have the ability to do that. But I don't think it's a Gen Y, a Gen X, I don't think it's any kind of an issue other than just what people's pure objections are. I think Gen Y just has more of an ability or more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Not opening, but not contact. What's the word I'm looking for? Not exposure, access to things where they can do things themselves. With anybody, it's all about that objection, right? I say this all the time, especially with FSBOs. You always want to, whenever you're overcoming an objection, you want to come to these three things, right? You want to understand them, you want to relate them to them, and then you want to educate them. And so when you're looking at a FSBO, whether it's Gen X, Gen Y, whatever it may be, the real question is, why are they looking at going FSBO? And the answer in every single scenario is because they want to save a certain amount of money on their house so they can go buy another one, or they want to cut costs. There's always this answer, right? And so if you go through that three-step process I talked about, understand, relate, and educate, then you know that the first step is to understand with that Gen Yer and say, I can understand why you would want to sell your house yourself. In fact, relate with them. If I was in your position, I'd probably be thinking the same thing. I'd be saving money by selling it myself. I could just put it out on the internet. That makes a lot of sense. The internet's such a powerful place now. But now I'm going to educate, and I'm going to jump in there and say, but did you know that the average for sale by owner actually gets 20% less than a house listed on the MLS? And that's actually true, guys. Average nationwide, $230,000 for a house listed on the MLS, $184,000 listed for sale by owner. And then not only do you educate them on that, you make it make sense now. Part of that educational process, and you say, think about it. It's just supply and demand, right? The more eyeballs something has, the more supply that's created. The more demand that's created, the more a house price is going to go up. When you're dealing with an agent, you've got all of those people who are signed up for saved searches through their agents, so thousands of people are hearing about that property. And not only that, though, but buyers today are more educated than ever. They know that they have just as much access as you do to go on and look at comps and see what comparative properties have gone for. And so when they go in to make an offer on a property, you have a buyer now who's completely educated, and when they go to make an offer on your property and they're looking at the comps and knowing that all of those properties were sold through an agent paying 6%, they're going to come into your house, make an offer, and say, right off the bat, I'm going to take 6% off because you're not paying that fee like this comp over here was, right? That's what you would do as the seller. And when you put it to them like that, they're kind of like, that's exactly what I would do. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to jump at you and go, you've changed my mind, let's do it, right? Doesn't mean they're going to do that. It means that you've now planted the seed, and now when you stay in touch with them over the next 3 months or whatever it is, and they start to realize they're not having the success that they wanted to have, you're now going to be an option because you positioned yourself as the expert. But you can't, for this to work though, and I say this all the time, you can't think like some college dude, trying to hit some girl up at a frat party or something like that. Like, you got to understand, you're not only going to make that intro, but then you're going to follow up for the next 3 months, 6 months, whatever it takes, because that is the world we live in now.
The last question is from @REbloggerMarie, and she says, "Hey Jared, is the Transformer Gumby on the desk yours or the kids? Just wondering."
And the last one was about the Gumby. The Transformer Gumby on your desk, yours or the kids? Just wondering.
All right, so Transformer Gumby. I think he's a little insulted, but no, I think it's actually a robot. I have never even really... I'm not even sure what this is. I'm not going to lie. We started doing it on the first episode. That's Anthony's, who's back there. Probably a great question for him. Why is it in his office? I have no idea, though I think it's actually, look at that. It's a USB, it's a thumb drive as well. So no, it's not mine or my kids. It's one of the kids that works in this office. One of the big kids, which I think you'll attest to. Anthony, it's his. So great question, all right?
That's it.
You know what I should do, actually? This would be good for them to see. If I'm going to do that, and that was truly the last question, I should answer that question, and then I should go right into close.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to pause.
No.
Because what, are we going to put in some kind of a thing that fills in there and goes, thank you for that question, and then I close?
Yeah.
So I'm going to re-answer that question.
Okay.
And I'll try to do it as, off the cuff as I did a second ago. I'll try to reenact that. But yeah, we'll do that, okay?
Okay.
So what was the question again? How was it exactly worded? I want to make sure it transitions well.
Is the Transformer Gumby on the desk yours or the kids? Just wondering.
Guys, that is going to conclude our episode 4, #JJOffTheCuff. Okay, as usual, guys, keep asking your questions. You can ask them on Twitter, on Instagram, @JaredJamesToday, on Facebook, Facebook.com/JaredJamesToday, on YouTube, YouTube.com/Jared1119, which, don't ask me how that happened. Any of those places, guys, I love doing it. As I say always, guys, you ask your questions and I'll answer.